Welcome back to Mysteries of Mythology. Today, we're diving into the shadows of human nature as we explore the infamous 7 deadly sins. These ancient archetypes represent the darker impulses within us all, each with its own unique story, symbolism, and sinister allure. So, sit back, relax, and prepare for a journey into temptation, power, and consequence. To begin this captivating descent, we start with what I believe is the deadliest of them all, pride. A sin so powerful it is said to have birthed the others. Let's unravel the tale of this towering vice and see why it's considered the root of all downfall. Pride, often referred to as the deadliest sin, is regarded as the foundation upon which all other sins are built. It is the excessive belief in one's abilities, beauty, or importance, a self-aggrandizing view that places oneself above all others, including divine authority. Pride blinds individuals to their flaws, fosters arrogance, and leads to the refusal of growth or humility. It is no wonder that this sin has been associated with downfall and destruction throughout history. The color most often associated with pride is a rich, vibrant violet or deep purple. In ancient times, purple was a color reserved for royalty, wealth, and authority, making it an apt symbol for pride's elevated sense of self. While the hue evokes power and majesty, in the context of sin, it becomes a warning of the dangerous heights to which pride can elevate its bearer before the inevitable fall. Lucifer, also known as the Lightbringer, serves as the ultimate embodiment of pride. According to Christian mythology, Lucifer was once the most radiant of all angels, adorned with unmatched beauty and wisdom. However, his pride led him to rebel against God, refusing to bow to divine will. He believed himself equal, if not superior, to the Creator and sought to claim the throne of heaven for himself. This arrogance led to his expulsion from paradise, casting him and his followers into the depths of hell, where he became the prince of darkness. Lucifer's story illustrates the seductive nature of pride. At first glance, it appears as confidence, ambition, or self-respect, qualities that are often praised. However, when unchecked, it transforms into hubris, a dangerous overestimation of one's worth that blinds individuals to their limits. This blindness paves the way for inevitable collapse, as the proud refuse to heed warnings or learn from their mistakes. Pride's influence extends beyond mythology into everyday life. It can manifest in subtle ways, such as refusing to apologize, dismissing criticism, or belittling others to elevate oneself. In its most extreme forms, pride can lead to catastrophic decisions, as seen in leaders or individuals who let their arrogance dictate their actions. The downfall of kings, the destruction of empires, and the collapse of relationships can often be traced back to pride's insidious grip. Despite its dangers, pride is not inherently evil. There is a fine line between healthy pride, taking joy in one's achievements, and sinful pride, which exalts oneself above others. Recognizing this distinction is key to understanding the sin's complexity. Pride becomes deadly when it eclipses humility, compassion, and the willingness to acknowledge one's limitations. In the context of the 7 deadly sins, pride is often depicted as the sin from which all others flow. Greed, envy, wrath, and even gluttony can be traced back to the desire to elevate oneself, achieve superiority, or maintain control. This is why pride holds such a central role in the hierarchy of sins. It is the seed from which countless vices grow. As we reflect on pride, it's worth remembering the lesson of Lucifer's fall. No matter how high one climbs or how radiant one's light shines, unchecked pride can lead to the greatest of falls. It serves as a timeless reminder that humility and self-awareness are not weaknesses but strengths that anchor us in the face of pride's seductive allure. Wrath, the sin of uncontrolled anger and hatred, is the most violent and destructive of the 7 deadly sins. It is the fiery, unrelenting force that drives people to acts of vengeance, cruelty, and devastation. Unlike other sins that can be subtle in their manifestation, wrath is an explosion of raw emotion, often leaving destruction in its wake. It blinds reason, overpowers compassion, and consumes everything in its path, including the one who harbors it. The color most often associated with wrath is a deep, burning red. This fiery hue symbolizes blood, rage, and the heat of intense emotions. Red is the color of fury, the uncontrollable fire that fuels wrathful actions, and it serves as a stark reminder of the sin's violent nature. In Christian mythology, wrath is often personified by Satan himself in his most vengeful and aggressive form. While Lucifer embodies pride, Satan as the destroyer channels the pure, violent essence of wrath. It is said that his hatred for humanity and his desire for revenge against God for casting him out of heaven are fueled by an unending rage. His wrath is eternal, consuming him and driving his endless pursuit of destruction. Wrath's destructive power lies not only in its outward expression, but also in its ability to corrode the soul of the one who succumbs to it. It festers, growing more intense with time, and leads to bitterness, resentment, and a thirst for revenge. In its most dangerous forms, wrath disregards morality and justice, seeking only to satisfy the burning desire for retaliation, no matter the cost. This sin is often depicted in mythology and literature as the force behind some of the most catastrophic events. Wars, feuds, and acts of violence are often attributed to wrath, showcasing how it can escalate from a moment of anger into widespread chaos. In the Divine Comedy by Dante Alighieri, those consumed by wrath are depicted in the river Styx, forever fighting and clawing at one another, their rage never subsiding. However, wrath does not only manifest in physical violence. It can also take the form of verbal abuse, passive aggression, or even internalized anger that slowly destroys the individual. The inability to forgive, the harboring of grudges, and the desire for revenge are all subtle yet potent forms of wrath. While wrath is undeniably destructive, it is rooted in a human instinct to protect, defend, or fight against injustice. This is where the line between righteous anger and sinful wrath becomes blurred. Righteous anger, directed toward correcting a wrong or standing up for the oppressed, is not considered sinful. However, when anger is allowed to grow unchecked, turning into hatred or a desire for destruction, it crosses into the realm of wrath. The lesson of wrath is one of control and understanding. Anger, when acknowledged and tempered, can be a powerful force for change and justice. But when left unchecked, it becomes a consuming fire that destroys not only its target, but also the one who wields it. As we explore wrath, remember that it is a sin that thrives on chaos and destruction. It warns us of the consequences of losing control and the importance of mastering our emotions. To confront wrath is to confront the fire within and choose whether to let it burn out of control or to harness it for a greater purpose. Sloth, often regarded as the laziest of the 7 deadly sins, is far more insidious than it appears at first glance. While it is commonly associated with simple laziness or inactivity, sloth represents a deeper spiritual and emotional indifference. It is the avoidance of responsibility, the neglect of one's duties, and the refusal to engage with the world, even when action is desperately needed. The color associated with sloth is a pale, dull blue or gray, hues that evoke stagnation, lifelessness, and the absence of vitality. These muted tones reflect the lethargy and lack of drive that define this sin, painting a picture of a life that drifts aimlessly, devoid of ambition or purpose. Unlike the explosive nature of sins like wrath or the fiery ambition of pride, sloth is a quiet, creeping force. It does not shout or demand attention. Instead, it whispers, lulling its victim into a state of apathy and inaction. This makes sloth uniquely dangerous as it robs people of their potential, leaving them to waste away without ever realizing the opportunities they have lost. In Christian theology, sloth is seen as a rejection of one's divine purpose. It is the unwillingness to fulfill the work that life, faith, or community requires. Early theologians referred to it as aestia, a term that encompasses not just laziness but a profound sadness or despair that paralyzes the soul. This spiritual dimension of sloth shows that it is not merely about avoiding chores or responsibilities. It is about giving up on oneself, others, and even on God. Sloth can be found in many forms. It might appear as procrastination, where tasks are endlessly delayed without reason. It could manifest as a refusal to care for oneself or others, leading to neglect and decay. In modern terms, sloth can also be seen in endless distractions, spending hours scrolling through social media or avoiding meaningful work in favor of fleeting entertainment. Mythologically, sloth is less personified than other sins, but its influence can be seen in figures who succumb to despair and inaction. One example is the myth of Narcissus, who, although more often linked to pride, becomes so entranced by his own reflection that he remains idle by the pool, wasting away. This tragic paralysis mirrors the effects of sloth, becoming so consumed by lethargy or self-absorption that life itself slips by. The dangers of sloth extend beyond the individual. When sloth spreads through a group or society, progress halts, problems go unresolved, and decay sets in. Great civilizations have fallen, not through the fury of war, but through the quiet erosion of neglect and apathy. However, like all sins, sloth exists on a spectrum. Rest and relaxation are not sinful. Indeed, they are essential for a healthy life. The sin of sloth arises when rest turns into avoidance and when carelessness becomes a way of life. It is the refusal to face life's challenges, even when action is necessary. To combat sloth, one must embrace purpose and discipline. Small, consistent steps toward growth and engagement can reignite the spark that sloth seeks to extinguish. The lesson of sloth is a reminder that while rest is important, life requires effort, and meaning comes from the pursuit of our responsibilities and passions. Sloth may be the laziest sin, but its impact is far-reaching. It urges us to reflect on where we might be holding back and challenges us to take action, to live fully and with intention, no matter how small the steps may seem. Greed, also known as avarice, is the insatiable hunger for wealth, possessions, or power. Unlike other sins that may burn brightly and fade, greed is a constant gnawing desire, one that can never truly be satisfied. It is the relentless craving to acquire more, regardless of need or consequence. Greed blinds people to the value of moderation, poisons relationships, and drives individuals to exploit and dominate others in their endless pursuit of more. The color traditionally associated with greed is gold or yellow, shades that represent wealth and materialism. However, in its more corrupt form, green is also used, symbolizing envy, jealousy, and the sickly obsession that greed breeds. Both hues evoke the allure and toxicity of this sin, reflecting its dual nature as both tempting and destructive. In mythology, greed is often personified by figures obsessed with hoarding treasures or conquering the world for their own gain. King Midas is a prime example. Granted the ability to turn everything he touched into gold, Midas quickly realized the curse of his greed when his food, drink, and even his loved ones turned to lifeless gold. His story illustrates the self-destructive nature of greed. What begins as a gift or ambition can quickly spiral into ruin when unchecked. In Christian theology, greed is seen as a rejection of charity and a betrayal of trust. It prioritizes material wealth over spiritual well-being and encourages the exploitation of others for personal gain. Greed is often depicted as a driving force behind the collapse of moral and social order, as those consumed by it will stop at nothing to satisfy their cravings. Greed is not limited to material wealth. It can manifest in a hunger for status, power, or even love. It thrives on the belief that enough is never enough, and that fulfillment lies just beyond the next acquisition. This makes greed particularly dangerous. It convinces people to chase endlessly, never stopping to appreciate what they already have. The mythological dragon is a recurring symbol of greed. Hoarding gold and treasures in its lair, the dragon is a powerful metaphor for the isolating and all-consuming nature of avarice. Like the dragon, the greedy often find themselves alone, guarding their wealth with a vigilance that alienates them from others. Greed's influence extends far beyond individuals. In society, greed drives corruption, economic inequality, and environmental destruction. The pursuit of profit at all costs leads to exploitation, war, and the depletion of resources, often leaving devastation in its wake. Greed is a sin that multiplies its effects, spreading its hunger to those it touches and creating cycles of harm and dissatisfaction. However, not all desire is sinful. Ambition and the pursuit of success can lead to progress and innovation. The difference lies in intent and balance. Greed becomes deadly when it overrides compassion, generosity, and the recognition of limits. It demands more than its fair share and disregards the well-being of others in the process. To overcome greed, one must embrace gratitude and generosity, recognizing the value of what one has rather than constantly striving for more is key to breaking free from greed's grip. Sharing with others and prioritizing relationships over possessions help counteract the isolating effects of this sin. Greed is the most money and desire-hungry of all the sins, and its allure is undeniable. It promises fulfillment and power, but in reality, it delivers isolation, destruction, and endless dissatisfaction. It reminds us that true wealth lies not in how much we possess, but in how much we appreciate and share with others. Envy, the sin of jealousy, is a consuming desire for what others possess, whether it be wealth, success, beauty, relationships, or even happiness itself. It is the shadow that follows comparison, turning admiration into resentment and longing into bitterness. Envy does not simply wish to have what others have, it often wishes to see others lose it. It is a corrosive force, eroding contentment and poisoning the heart with dissatisfaction and spite. The color most often associated with envy is green, earning it the infamous title of the green-eyed monster. This shade represents jealousy, greed, and the sickly hue of discontentment that envy brings. Green serves as a visual metaphor for the longing and bitterness that consume those who succumb to this sin. In mythology and literature, envy frequently serves as a catalyst for betrayal and tragedy. One of the most well-known examples comes from the story of Cain and Abel in the Bible. Cain's envy of his brother's favor with God drove him to commit the first murder, highlighting the destructive power of jealousy when left unchecked. Similarly, in Greek mythology, the goddess Hera is often depicted as envious of Zeus's lovers and offspring, her jealousy leading to vengeful and cruel acts that caused chaos and suffering. Envy is a sin rooted in comparison and a lack of self-worth. It arises when individuals measure their happiness or success against that of others, rather than appreciating their own achievements and blessings. This comparison breeds resentment, as envy convinces its victims that life has treated them unfairly and that they deserve what others have. Unlike greed, which desires to acquire more, envy specifically targets what belongs to someone else. It is not content with personal gain. It thrives on taking joy away from others. This is what makes envy so dangerous. It seeks not only to elevate oneself, but also to diminish those who are envied. In Christian theology, envy is seen as a direct affront to the virtues of gratitude and humility. It is a rejection of the belief that everyone is blessed in their own way and instead fosters resentment toward God's providence. Those consumed by envy find it difficult to celebrate others' successes, as their own dissatisfaction blinds them to the joy and beauty in life. The effects of envy ripple outward, damaging relationships and fostering conflict. Friendships are strained, trust is eroded, and harmony is disrupted when envy takes hold. In its most extreme forms, envy can lead to sabotage, betrayal, and even violence. However, envy is not always overt. It can lurk beneath the surface, manifesting as passive-aggressive remarks, subtle put-downs, or internalized feelings of inadequacy. It is a sin that often disguises itself, making it difficult to confront and overcome. To combat envy, one must cultivate gratitude and self-acceptance. Recognizing one's own worth and achievements, independent of others, helps to dissolve the resentment that envy feeds on. Practicing kindness and celebrating the successes of others can also break envy's hold, transforming jealousy into genuine joy for those around us. Envy, the most jealous sin, reminds us of the dangers of comparison and the value of contentment. It teaches that happiness cannot be found by looking outward at others, but rather by looking inward and embracing the unique path that is ours alone. Gluttony, the sin of overindulgence and excess, is often thought of as consuming far more than one needs, whether that be food, drink, or material possessions. However, it goes deeper than simple overconsumption. Gluttony is the obsessive desire to devour without limits, prioritizing momentary gratification over balance and restraint. It is the embodiment of unchecked appetite, where the pursuit of excess blinds individuals to the consequences of their actions. The color associated with gluttony is orange, symbolizing appetite, indulgence, and the fiery desire for more. Orange is bold and attention-grabbing, much like the sin itself, representing the insatiable hunger that drives those consumed by gluttony. In mythology and folklore, gluttony is frequently personified as creatures or characters who eat endlessly, often to their own detriment. The Norse myth of Loki's competition with Logi, a being who consumed not just food but the very plates and table, is one such example. Similarly, in Dante's Inferno, the gluttonous are punished in the third circle of hell, where they are condemned to wallow in filth, symbolizing the wastefulness and degradation that gluttony brings. Gluttony is not merely about overeating or drinking. It is about a lack of moderation and a disregard for the needs of others. Those consumed by gluttony take more than their fair share, often leaving little for those around them. It is a sin rooted in selfishness, as the glutton focuses solely on their desires, ignoring the impact of their actions. This sin extends beyond physical consumption. In a broader sense, gluttony can represent an excessive desire for experiences, entertainment, or even knowledge, when pursued without purpose or balance. It reflects the inability to say enough, always seeking to fill an internal void with external excess. In Christian theology, gluttony is considered a rejection of temperance and self-control. It prioritizes the physical over the spiritual, indulging in fleeting pleasures rather than focusing on what truly matters. Gluttony can lead to physical, emotional, and spiritual harm, as the pursuit of excess often comes at the cost of health, relationships, and deeper fulfillment. The effects of gluttony can be seen not only in individuals, but also in society. Overconsumption leads to waste, environmental harm, and resource depletion. When gluttony spreads unchecked, it creates systems of inequality, where the excesses of the few come at the expense of the many. Yet gluttony, like all sins, operates on a spectrum. Enjoying a feast, savoring a fine wine, or indulging in a special treat are not inherently sinful. It becomes gluttony when pleasure turns to excess and when indulgence comes at the expense of balance and gratitude. To overcome gluttony, one must practice moderation and mindfulness. Appreciating what one has, savoring each moment, and recognizing when enough is enough are key to breaking free from this sin's grip. Sharing with others and focusing on the quality, rather than the quantity, of experiences can transform indulgence into something meaningful and enriching. Gluttony, the biggest devourer, reminds us of the dangers of excess and the importance of balance. It teaches that true satisfaction does not come from consuming endlessly, but from cherishing what we have and finding fulfillment in moderation and gratitude. Lust, the sin of unchecked desire and intense craving, represents the overwhelming pursuit of physical pleasure, often at the expense of morality, reason, and emotional connection. While desire and passion are natural parts of life, lust twists them into a selfish and consuming force. It is the most passionate sin, driven by impulses that cloud judgment and prioritize momentary satisfaction over lasting fulfillment. The color most often associated with lust is red, a hue symbolizing passion, danger, and intense emotion. Red embodies the fiery and uncontrollable nature of lust, highlighting both its seductive allure and its destructive potential. Lust has been a central theme in mythology and literature for centuries, often portrayed as a force that leads to ruin. One notable example is the story of Paris and Helen in Greek mythology. Paris's lust for Helen, despite her being married to King Menelaus, ignited the Trojan War, resulting in widespread destruction and loss. Similarly, in Christian theology, lust is viewed as a distortion of love, focusing solely on physical gratification while neglecting deeper emotional or spiritual connections. This sin thrives on temptation, blinding its victims to the consequences of their actions. It encourages reckless behavior, disregarding commitments, and exploiting others for personal satisfaction. Lust reduces relationships to mere transactions, stripping them of intimacy, trust, and respect. However, it is important to distinguish lust from genuine passion or love. Lust is purely self-serving, seeking only to fulfill one's desires without consideration for others. Love, by contrast, is selfless and nurturing, built on mutual respect and a deeper connection. Lust's influence is not limited to physical attraction. It can manifest as an obsession with power, control, or even an insatiable curiosity. In this sense, lust is about the inability to restrain one's desires, letting them spiral into obsession and compulsion. In Dante's Inferno, those guilty of lust are punished in the second circle of hell, swept endlessly by violent winds, symbolizing the chaotic and uncontrollable nature of their desires in life. This imagery reflects the way lust disrupts peace and stability, leaving those consumed by it at the mercy of their impulses. The effects of lust can extend far beyond the individual, damaging relationships, families, and communities. Betrayal, infidelity, and exploitation are common consequences of unchecked lust. It fosters an environment of mistrust and disconnection, undermining the foundations of meaningful human connections. Yet, like all sins, lust is not inherently evil. It is the distortion of something natural. Desire and passion, when channeled responsibly, can lead to growth, creativity, and deeper bonds. It is when these feelings become unbalanced and uncontrolled that they transform into sin. To overcome lust, one must practice self-awareness and discipline. Recognizing the difference between healthy passion and destructive obsession is key. Building meaningful connections based on respect and understanding helps to counteract lust's shallow and fleeting nature. Lust, the most passionate sin, teaches us about the dangers of unchecked desire and the importance of balance. While it may promise pleasure and fulfillment, it often leads to emptiness and regret. True passion lies not in indulging every craving but in nurturing connections that are both enriching and enduring. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the 7 deadly sins. We hope you enjoyed exploring the depths of human nature and the timeless stories behind these fascinating concepts. Whether you're here for the mythology, the symbolism, or just out of curiosity, we appreciate you taking the time to watch. If you liked, enjoyed, or even learned something from this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into mythology, lore, and the stories that have shaped our world. Your support helps us continue creating content that sparks curiosity and brings ancient tales to life. The 7 deadly sins are a topic that never goes out of style. From the pages of history to modern-day storytelling, they've inspired countless books, movies, shows, and anime. Each sin represents a powerful aspect of human emotion and behavior, making them relatable and compelling for audiences of all kinds. It's no wonder they've become such iconic symbols in popular culture. So, what's your favorite sin to see portrayed in media? Do you relate to one more than the others? Or is there a particular depiction that left a lasting impression on you? Let us know in the comments below. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Thanks again for watching Mysteries of Mythology. Stay tuned for more exciting content, from ancient legends to modern mysteries. Until next time, remember to embrace balance, learn from the past, and keep your curiosity alive. See you in the next video.